Today I'm spilling the tea on a childhood classic, SpaghettiOs. Of course, my version is better than what you can get out the can. Let me show you how to make them. In a Dutch oven, you want to add some olive oil and then add in some diced onions. I diced up one small onion and added it to the pot. Once my onion sweated down a little bit, I added in some rosemary. I happen to have some fresh rosemary in my refrigerator. I only added about a teaspoon. And then I just seasoned my onions with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. The next thing you're going to need is one small can of tomato paste. I actually saw Ree Drummond from the Pioneer Woman make this on the Food Network the other day. And since I hadn't had it in years, I decided to make it for my family. Once you've added your tomato paste, you just want to mix it really well with the onions and then add 4 cups of chicken broth. You can also use vegetable broth, but I always have chicken broth on hand, so that's what I used. Give it a good mix and allow the tomato paste to dissolve. Once everything has dissolved, you want to add in half a cup of heavy cream. Ree used half a cup of half and half, but I didn't have that, so I used what I had. Now you want to give everything a good stir and allow this to simmer for a little bit. While this is simmering, you can make the meatballs. I wanted to make my meatballs from scratch because I wanted them to look exactly like the ones that are in the SpaghettiOs can. And it's hard to find frozen meatballs that are that small. So all I did was get a pack of ground beef and then season with some salt, some pepper, some garlic powder, and a little bit of complete seasoning. Baby, these are your meatballs, so you can season them with whatever you like. I then added in a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and then a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs and a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. The last thing that goes in is 1 beaten egg. I just beat 1 egg and then added it into the mixture. Now with clean hands, all you want to do is combine your beef with all of those ingredients. You want to make sure you work the mixture pretty good so you can get the breadcrumbs and the Parmesan cheese well incorporated. Once you've done that, you want to pinch off the smallest amount of beef possible and roll it into the most tiniest meatball. So you'll see me rolling these meatballs in my hand. Some of them I had to actually redo because I thought they were too big, like that one. So I actually went back and redid them because you don't realize how big they are until you actually see them on the pan. Once you've rolled all of your meatballs, you just want to spray down a baking tray. I'm just spraying my tray with olive oil. You can use whatever you have. And then you just want to add your meatballs to your baking tray just like this. You can see that some of mine are really too big. The second tray that I put in the oven, my meatballs were a lot smaller because I didn't feel like going back and redoing all of these meatballs. And you don't need the meatballs at all. SpaghettiOs made a version that was just plain pasta and tomato sauce. So you don't need the meatballs. I just wanted to add them just because they made the dish a lot heartier for my family. This is pretty much the size that you would want to make your meatballs. You see how tiny that is? You just want to bake these in the oven on 400 degrees for less than 10 minutes. They don't need a lot of time to cook because they're so small. While your meatballs are in the oven, you just want to add your pasta. This is the pasta that I'm using. I found it on Amazon and I'm adding 12 ounces of this dried oat pasta to my sauce. Essentially, you want the pasta to soak up the bulk of this sauce. So you can add more pasta if you want, but I just added a little bit over 12 ounces to my pot. As the pasta cooks, it will definitely expand. Another tip is making sure you stir this regularly because if you don't, the pasta will stick to the bottom of the pot. It's already given SpaghettiOs. These are what my meatballs looked like once they had cooked. They were so cute and so small. I did a second batch because I felt like the ones I had done earlier were a little bit too big. Now all you want to do once your pasta is almost done is just add your meatballs in just like this and then give it a good stir. You can let this simmer for another 2 to 3 minutes so the sauce gets really incorporated with the meatballs. And baby, that's it. That's all. You have made homemade SpaghettiOs. This was a big hit with my daughter last night. She's 10 years old and she absolutely loved this. She has never had a can of SpaghettiOs in her life, but she loved this because she loves pasta and she loves just tomato sauce. She wasn't a big fan of the meatballs, so she just ate around those. But my husband and I devoured this last night. Y'all know I love going down memory lane when it comes to certain recipes, and when I say these SpaghettiOs took me back, baby, Chef Boyardee and SpaghettiOs were some things that I would eat on occasion growing up. My mom cooked a lot of homemade food, so I would rarely eat this, but it definitely brought back a lot of memories. I just topped mine with some freshly grated Parmesan cheese and some chopped parsley and served a grilled cheese on the side. And y'all, this was so good and such a great comfort meal last night. It was so cold here in the DC area, and this was a perfect comfort meal to make on a cold winter night. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel where I share more easy recipes like this. Also, please subscribe to my mailing list, www.spillingthesweettea.com, so you get written recipes from me as well. When I tell you this was giving SpaghettiOs, it was so good. I'm glad I added these mini meatballs because it made this dish so hearty. The addition of the fresh parsley and the fresh Parmesan cheese definitely leveled it up. Baby, when I tell you, when I tasted this, it took me all the way back to the mid-80s. It was so, so good. These SpaghettiOs were definitely a 10 out of 10, and spilling the sweet tea, approved.
Of course it is.